to the Anybody's Game podcast. I'm Cass, and this is the Alir of podcast, JJ.
How's it going?
And, well, we've got absolutely no experience whatsoever in this field. We're not journalists, we're not commentators, we're just good old-fashioned sport fans. Want to have a bit of a laugh.
And yeah, we're pretty much believing that we can offer more insight to any game than most journalists, especially Damien Barrett. But what can we say?
I mean, we don't have as many catchy, wonderful sayings as, say, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as footy fans and as sport fans, we can have a bit of a laugh.
I think you'll find our backyard journalism to be very insightful, and you'll take what we take as gospel, and if you don't, you can fuck off.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Probably not exactly embracing the audience there, but fuck off is a good way of putting it.
I think that we've already established our motto in episode 1.
Yeah, fuck off. So basically, we're going to go through a bit of history of ourselves, our torturous love of sport and our football teams. JJ, unfortunately, has been a child of abuse, being a Melbourne supporter his whole life.
Yes, and on top of that, I'm currently also going for Leeds in the English Championship. So, Melbourne in the AFL just absolutely been sucking ass for the last 50 years. Leeds have had nothing to cheer about since like the early 90s, so it's all been pretty belly up for me.
It's amazing. I didn't even knew Leeds existed till this year. And then, of course, they fell off the cliff and did not get promoted to the Premier League. So
correct. It was just a choke. And the other team I backed this year was Spurs. Had a lot better year, but still choked to Liverpool, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, they disappointed us all, but we'll go into that a little bit later.
Yes. About yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm a North Melbourne supporter, and like most middle-aged men these days, our best years were in the 90s. We went out a lot on Friday nights, and we haven't had any success since. So it's been absolutely wonderful the last few years. We just sacked the coach. Well, he resigned.
He resigned, yeah.
And now we've got a Collingwood old boy, so that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Reece Shaw.
Cool. So let's kick on with what we've got on today. So we will cover pretty much the disastrous result that was the Champions League, the hilarious result, which was the Europa League, and then some sports nobody gives a shit about, like the NRL.
Yes. Of course, the NRL, in my opinion, should be played at stadiums more worthy of their crowd size. So, the local park, for instance, your grassroots soccer club, for the hundreds of people who turn up to those games. Just an absolutely crackingly popular sport in Melbourne.
It's huge here. I can't believe that they've managed to just sell those television rights for as much as they have. But
I think that's the thing. Without being a little bit serious here, they actually do get quite a lot of TV viewership, so that's where they make most of their money. But yeah, as we said, we'll cover the UCL final first, and I must admit that I fell asleep about halfway through the second half because it was fucking boring.
Oh, it was horrendous, and just that goal right at the start just took the life out of everybody.
It killed it. It really did.
Everybody came in with such high hopes that, Liverpool might not win.
But you know what? I mean, usually when there's an early goal, particularly from the favourite, Liverpool were the favourite. I mean, if any team was going to sit back a little bit, it was going to be Spurs.
Yeah.
And it's like usually when that happens, the underdog then they're forced to come out of their shell. They're forced to attack a little bit, and they just didn't provide anything.
I basically feel Spurs came in, and they were like, "Oh shit, what do we do? Oh, it's early on, let's not panic." But there's got to be a point where you start to panic, and they never really,
did.
they never really did. They were just like, "It's okay, the game's over." Oh fuck.
Yeah, pretty much. And Harry Kane, unfit, clearly underdone. Maybe not unfit,
Well,
but
maybe
clearly
not.
underdone.
He was just, somebody hasn't paid for 2 months. You want people in form. I don't know if they had like behind the scenes friendlies to get him in shape. We know that Liverpool strategically picked Benfica B because they believed that they played exactly like Spurs. So it was a strategic match, and people were calling Jurgen Klopp a genius, but I don't think he needed to be much of a genius from what we saw.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's kind of like the Pep Guardiola's a wonderful manager, but when you've got the squad that City have, if you're not winning, then you're...
it's like the Barca team he had as well. Like,
I mean, you don't have to be much of a genius when you have Lionel Messi
who
banging in goals every
well, it's
2
almost
seconds.
like it's almost like Mr. Burns in the episode, Lineal, score a goal. I told him to do that. The other results coming out of Europe was the Europa League, which was pretty entertaining. The first half wasn't that great, but that second half, I went downstairs halfway through during half time to quickly take a piss. I came back up and Chelsea had just killed the game.
This will give you an indication of my commitment to this podcast. I didn't actually watch it, but I did watch Arsenal Fan TV afterwards, and that is absolutely hilarious. Just a shout out for Arsenal Fan TV. If
Robbie,
you want a
we love your work.
Yeah,
please keep doing it.
A lot of fat London blokes bitching and whining about their crap team. It was absolutely wonderful.
It was great, and the game had a lot more life than UCL because there was goals.
Yes, yeah, and Chelsea sounded like they turned it on. I watched the highlights and they look pretty slick.
But the player that really and the big news coming from today is that the person who made it all happen is now gone in Eden Hazard.
Yeah, 100 million.
100 million euro. What?
That's a lot of money.
What would Chelsea do with that money? I don't know how much blow Abramovich can do, but he's really going to test his nostrils out.
I think they need midfielders. They need a defender.
They need somebody to replace Hazard.
Cahill's getting on. Obviously, they need someone to replace Hazard. They probably need a striker as well. Higuain hasn't really impressed.
He's spending too much time at Macca's.
Yeah, he's a bit fat.
Just a little bit.
Got the Stewie Jews about him.
Yeah.
Or the Romelu Lukaku's.
You should make a burger named after those two. Come in and try the Lukaku.
Lukaku burger.
Or the Higuain special. We soak the buns in lard.
Yes, yeah. But I am enjoying, as an Everton fan, Romelu Lukaku just not performing very well. Much better player when he was with us, to be perfectly honest. And we watched talking about NRL before, that no one watches it. No one really does in this series.
The only thing people do watch it for is State of Origin. So they should just condense the entire season into 3 matches.
That's actually a good idea.
The actual NRL season is just tryouts to get into State of Origin. When you finally get into State of Origin, you got your 3 matches, which they are pretty enjoyable. And this year I've jumped onto the Blues bandwagon mainly because
you can't not. I mean, how can you follow Queensland after what they did to us in the election?
I mean, they gave us Fraser Anning, so that just tells you everything you need to know.
Fraser Anning, Pauline Hanson. I mean, it's like the redneck capital of Australia.
I do hope that they try and come out and Quexit. I'm calling it that. Queensland exit.
I mean, look, I've always been one to say that the Gold Coast should be bulldozed into the ocean.
Nah.
And I mean, if you just, it's just an extension of that, really.
Yeah, so I'm really for the Quexit. I'm hoping that we can make Quexit happen. So go out there, share hashtag Quexit on whatever social media platform you are on.
Yes, yeah.
Unfortunately, Queensland did beat New South Wales, which just sums up the sport. Now we just don't care even more.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we'll just pretend they don't exist.
The other sport we've got our eye on with the extension, we haven't really covered AFL yet, which will probably be our main segment, is a quick shout out to the NHL, which
I love the NHL.
WWE on ice, dubbed it. You can have a punch on and then give some hugs afterwards. It's pretty great. So the Stanley Cup final is between St. Louis Blues, who are playing there for the first time since the 60s. So pretty much...
And weirdly enough, last year the Washington Capitals won their first title in the Stanley Cup. They broke a massive drought, and now this year happening again.
Yeah.
Kind of a bit of a renaissance with sporting droughts in the last few years. Obviously the Doggies here, the Tigers the year after, the Capitals in the NHL.
Yep, St. Louis potentially they're going up against Boston, who are a very strong team.
Yeah, and very traditionally strong too. Yep. And even in the baseball, the Cubs a couple of years ago, 104 years. So bit of a weird thing going on with breaking performances at the moment. And of course, the one team that JJ wants to break a drought doesn't seem like they're ever going to break a drought because they're rubbish.
Yeah, I don't think we're exactly going to be hitting the heights that I hope we would have this year, which kind of is a great segue into the AFL with our big Queen's birthday match coming up, where Collingwood will surely spank us like the bad little boys we have been this year.
Yeah, so I expect, especially last week, Collingwood, of course, losing, and I can't see them losing 2 in a row, and I think Melbourne are in a world of pain on Monday.
Despite getting 2 of our supposedly best players back in Jake Lever and Stephen May, so, pretty highly rated players, but they have not really played together in the first team at all.
Jake Lever hasn't played for what seems like forever, probably 18 months now. And you got to think that he's probably going to be a bit rusty. So
I would imagine he will be, but I'm hoping he can turn it around pretty quickly, get in the groove of things. I'm hoping probably not this match. We'll see what they can do. I think they're probably about 3 weeks away from really gelling, but once it happens, I'm expecting good things. Just it's a little bit late.
Yes, yeah, and I thought as a bit of something fun, we can go through each team.
Yep.
Have a little bit of a spill on each team. So maybe we'll go through each team and we'll try to guess each captain and each coach of each team. And this should be fun because I've got a feeling we're going to get a lot of these right.
Oh, okay. So straight off, in alphabetical order, we have Adelaide.
Yes, the Adelaide Crows.
Yep. So I believe the captain is... He plays in midfield. Not Ladd, who almost won the...
I believe Rory Sloane.
Sloane, that's it. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go one team each. So you guess Adelaide.
Yep. All right.
And the coach of the Adelaide Football Club, Jules?
Oh, shit. Don Pike.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Oh, I'm surprised.
I'm not...
I was scared I was going to say the guy who unfortunately passed away. But...
Yeah, I'm hoping that that's not Don Pike, but I'm pretty sure it's not. So
Okay. Next one straight off will be Brisbane for you.
Brisbane. I know it's an old bloke. I can't remember his friggin' name. Dane Zorko is the captain, but the fucking coach.
Take a stab.
Chris Fagan.
Yeah,
Chris Fagan. Yes, the old man.
Yep.
Don't think he ever played AFL. They've just popped him out, and he's done a wonderful job.
So far.
Yeah. And our next one, of course, the mighty Blues.
Yeah. So Carlton Football Club have Paddy Cripps as their captain, And I'm expecting Paddy Cripps will be named their coach this week as
yes,
well.
Yes, the first ever, the first playing captain coach.
Yep.
Since Jezelenko in the early 80s, apparently. And weirdly enough, their actual they introduced David Teague, who was the assistant under Brendan Bolton, as their senior coach, and he is weirdly enough the last ever playing coach in the VFL.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it was playing coach for the Northern Bull Ants back in the late 2000s. So, it can be done. Paddy Cripps has already ruined his life by playing with Carlton, so why not coach him?
Yeah, why the hell not? So now you got Collingwood?
Collingwood, well, Nathan Buckley, obviously Fig Jam.
Yep.
Fucking good, just ask me.
Yep.
Apparently the Brisbane players gave him that nickname in his 1 year there, and their captain is Scott Pendlebury. And did you know that Scott Pendlebury was a basketballer?
Yeah. I would have not known.
Oh, I know. It's unbelievable. It's not.
They only mention it about twice a game, but just in case.
It's just,
So who's after Collingwood? Essendon.
Yes.
Who's doing Essendon? That's me. So unfortunately, Dyson Happel and Woosha. And that's all I have to say about Essendon. So I now believe you have Fremantle.
Fremantle, Ross the Boss. Of course. Mr. Defensive himself. And their captain, the wonderful Nat Fyfe, the fashionable Nat Fyfe.
Fashionable. So after Fremantle, we have Gold Coast.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of teams, but
Gold Coast.
Do we count Gold Coast as an AFL team?
Yeah, who's guessing that one?
Good luck.
So Gary Ablett still playing there. I know their coach, so Stewie Dew is their coach.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't miss him, can you?
I was going to say Tom Lynch is their captain, but again...
Stephen May? No.
I don't know. Do they have any leadership?
I don't actually think they have any players, JJ. So the leadership's probably a stretch.
Yeah, I just realised it was Swallow.
Yeah, Swallow. I believe they have co-captains, but don't ask me. Yeah, the other one is. Wouldn't have them.
So after that, there is Hawthorn.
I think we've. Yeah, Hawthorn. Giants.
The Giants. Leon Cameron and
Callum Ward. I know.
Yeah. Phil Davis.
Phil Davis.
That's the other one. And then you got Hawthorn.
And we all hate Hawthorn.
Yeah,
the umpires.
The umpires.
Coaches at Hawthorn.
Yep. Skipping ahead. Then there's North Melbourne.
Yes, our two wonderful clubs.
North Melbourne.
Jack Zeeble.
Yep, the Bull.
And our coach, well, we don't actually have one. Reece
Shaw
is a stand-in at the moment.
Whereas Melbourne, we have co-captains in Viney and Jones, and our coach is Simon Goodwin. I'm hoping we get a good win on Monday.
Hey!
Yeah, it's our first shitty pun of the day.
Jokes are in. And the power. The Port Adelaide Power. And I wouldn't have an absolute clue who their captain is.
Yeah, Matthew Primus.
Yes, I believe Gavin Wanganeen, I think, is the Port Adelaide captain.
And what's his? And Chocker Williams.
Yeah, Chocker Williams is the coach. I can't even remember their
coach. Hinkley, that's it. Ken Hinkley.
Ken Hinkley.
I just know they have Koshy involved somehow,
yes,
and that they sing "Never Tear Us Apart," and it tears me apart to have to hear "In Excess" each time I watch their shitty team play.
Yes, well, a shitty team for a shitty song.
Yeah.
I believe their captain, but Ollie Wines?
I think it's Ollie Wines.
I feel like Ollie Wines should be their captain, but I don't
Brad
think
Ebert
he is
probably.
their captain. Yeah, maybe.
Probably Brad Ebert. So after that, who you got?
PQ Richmond.
Oh yeah, Richmond. You got the Hardwick and what's his face? Cochin. Yeah, Captain Cochin. Yes, great hair. He has great hair.
Yes, he does have great hair. He really does. Unlike Dusty Martin, they're the total opposites.
Yeah.
You know, Cochin just absolute statuesque hair.
Yeah.
And Dusty looks like...
Let's randomize it.
I mean, it's amazing how a player can be on that much money and not have a proper haircut.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I think
blows my mind.
it's really, he's really frugal from my understanding.
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
makes a lot more sense.
I heard he has quite a few hobbies on the side of football.
Yeah. And saving money on haircuts is definitely one of them.
Yes.
So after Richmond, we got Sydney.
Yes, the Swans are the horse John Longmire as their coach.
Yep.
And their captain is Paul Roos.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it Paul Kelly? I can't remember.
Yeah, one of those ones.
No, I believe it's Josh Kennedy. I think don't they have about 5 captains? They usually have like...
Yeah, they have a whole leadership squad, which is fair enough. Like, you have a CEO, but most of the decisions are made at a board level, so I can understand them trying to adopt that same model. Following Sydney, really getting hazy on my AFL teams, which shows you how much research we have done.
St Kilda.
Jack Billings, I'm gonna pull out. I'm pretty sure he isn't. And
no, Jared Geary.
Jared Geary. Oh yeah.
He nearly lost his leg apparently a few months ago. He had a corky, and he had a syndrome that came from that, and they were going to it got really touch and go apparently. If you go look up Jared Geary scar.
Yep.
And you will see the best fucking scar you have ever seen ever. It is unbelievable. It runs pretty much all the way down his leg, and I reckon he got about 80 stitches in the fucking
Holy
thing.
shit.
Crazy. And weirdly enough, he actually came back this week and broke his leg.
Oh,
so he's out for the
Jesus,
year
poor
anyway. So,
motherfucker.
the poor bloke.
And their coach, what's his name?
Alan Richardson.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. I was going to say
Don't know.
Ken Hinkley, but that's the poor like coach.
Malcolm Blight.
And then you got the 2 West teams, I believe. I feel like we've skipped one, but I don't really care at this stage.
No, Fitzroy.
Nah.
We skipped Fitzroy.
No, we didn't. So you got Western Bulldogs. I think their captain... Yeah, Easton Wood. I actually pulled that one out the butt.
Easton Wood, yeah.
And Luke Beveridge.
I was going to say the Bont.
I wasn't going to say Bont. I was going to say Robert Murphy, but he's definitely retired. And Luke Beveridge, their premiership coach. Don't know if they'll hit the heights of the premiership.
No,
this year,
I don't think they will. They're actually going to become the first team ever to win a premiership and then miss finals 3 years in a row.
Wow, that's interesting.
they've done really well after the flag. Looks like they're going to have to wait another 62
It's a big
years.
hangover, but in all fairness, I would be very hungover after a premiership.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I would probably need to be pumped and be put on life support for at least 5 years. So
definitely.
it's understandable.
My family would not see me for a long, long time.
And then finally, West Coast Eagles.
The West Coast Eagles. I believe Michael Malthouse is the coach, and Ben Cousins is the captain. No.
Who's the guy who punched the guy in the face? Andrew Gaff. I'm gonna put Andrew Gaff down as their captain. Because it's a ballsy thing to just punch a guy in the face.
Yes, yeah, not
and
a 19-year-old.
Then be called brave for it because you kind of admitted you're punching a 19-year-old in the face.
How brave.
How brave. And Adam Simpson is their glorious
the future
coach.
North Melbourne coach. Well, you know.
So that's our quick synopsis of the status of the AFL. So our tips for this week. So we've got to quickly actually look up who the hell is playing because I have no idea who is playing this week. I know Melbourne is playing, and that is the extent of my knowledge.
And for people who are gonna who will listen to this, we know that the round is already started.
Yeah.
We couldn't give a fuck.
Yeah. So quick, the results in: the Cats destroyed Richmond. No one really cares about that one. The Lions versus Carlton. What's your tip?
I mean, surely Carlton have to show something. They just got their coach sacked, for Christ's sake, but you can't tip against Brisbane even.
Yeah, Brisbane are in good form. I'll go Brisbane as well. The Suns versus North Melbourne in Gold Coast.
Well, I think we'll win. I think we'll make it 3 in a row.
Yep.
Gold Coast, I think, have fallen off a cliff a bit. They had a good start. They had a few close wins, but they've been pretty poor.
Yeah, they've
in
been
the
pretty
last few
poor
weeks.
lately, and I'll be going on. I'm tipping North for that one as well. Adelaide versus the Giants in Adelaide.
The Giants.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, this is probably the game of the round. If it was in Western Sydney, you'd have to tip the Giants, but I think I'll go Adelaide.
I'm gonna go the Giants. I didn't
Close
rate
one.
Adelaide's match against us. We should have done them in, but we didn't because we suck. Sydney versus the Weagles. I'm going to tip the Weagles on that one. It is in Sydney, but
Sydney again have shown better form the last few weeks, but I'm the same. I don't think you can really tip against West Coast, so we're starting to get into gear now. They're actually
yeah, they're
starting to
starting
play
to look
some
pretty
good
good. They just keep ticking over those wins. And finally, Collingwood versus Melbourne. Pretty simple one. I'm going for Collingwood. I'm
Yeah.
hoping Melbourne will win, but it doesn't make logical sense.
No, it really doesn't. And Collingwood, I just can't see Collingwood losing two in a row. To be honest, I think they're too good of a side
Yeah.
to do that, and I think as heavy favourites they should do Melbourne in.
Yeah, I definitely expect they will, and I'm not looking forward to the match as much as I should, although I definitely will be there. And finally, the last thing, because I want to skip over the pain that is life as a Melbourne supporter, is
Yeah, good
the
luck with
Women's
that.
World Cup. So as a celebration of the Women's World Cup and how far females have come in sport, I think we should, just go straight to the juggler and the, find the 5 sexiest women in
Oh
World
yeah,
Cup
definitely,
soccer.
definitely, because this is what the World Cup, the female
Oh,
World Cup is all
actually,
about.
let's take a change in it. Let's back that up and
I mean,
just actually, I've had a change of heart. I think we've been objectifying these women who are actually doing pretty well in their sports. So I think we should really turn the tides and let's objectify the men for once.
what are you talking about, JJ? I mean, that's what the Soccer World Cup's all about, having a bit of a perv, isn't it? Like,
I would disagree heavily. So let's flip the tables and basically let's do the top 5 still. However, we'll do the top 5 if we had to choose a guy from the men's teams.
I like it, and just on that, the women are absolutely unbelievable, and not for those reasons that we'll just talk about. They can absolutely play.
Oh,
And
they would
I
kick
cannot
ours.
wait.
Like
to see the
I
Women's
played
World
soccer
Cup. I think it'll be
and
wonderful.
they would kick our ass pretty heavily.
And Australia have a pretty good team and a pretty good player in Sam Kerr as well.
Oh,
She's
it's
amazing.
it's exciting to actually go into a World Cup and actually feel like we have a chance. I'm really excited to see how we go.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the Matildas absolutely slaughter the US, France, and come home and make Australia a powerhouse in women's football.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
So without further ado, our top 5 objectify the men thing. So I've come up with my top 5. So I've kicked things off, and my number 5 is Romelu Lukaku. So reason for that, some more cushion for the pushing. Nothing like a big bear hug to keep you warm at night.
I like it. And
Yep.
just on that, I've gone. My fifth is Higuain, who very similar. I mean,
Very
I like
similar.
I like boobs, and he has them. So not many of the men players do.
Yeah.
It's what I'm used to.
Yep.
So yeah,
So
he'd be my fifth.
yeah, definitely makes sense. So my number 4 is Alexis Sanchez. I went for the Latin lover type thing.
Very nice.
Yeah, I feel he'll like serenade me with a song and then maybe some Chilean food.
Ooh.
It's a very romantic night out. I can envision that.
Yes, yeah. I've gone. One of my favourite players is Ronaldinho from the past, but I've gone that route, but with a current player because of his aerodynamicness. And that is Luis Suarez. Those teeth.
Also the Latin feel though.
Yes, he has a Latin feel too. That Uruguayan food. I mean, he could cook up a storm. I'm sure.
Uruguayan.
You're gonna have to have food because let's face it, he'll probably bite you instead. So, yeah.
So my number 3, I went for the sexy Frenchman type thing in Antoine Griezmann. Yeah, just your classic French kind of dude. You can't. Nothing screams sophistication like Frog's legs. and being French in general just seems to add that +10 to your repertoire.
And my next one is Mesut Ozil because you know, I mean, I like eyes, and nothing stands out more than Mesut Ozil's eyes popping out of his head.
You got that 360-degree coverage, so no matter where you are, if you're hitting it from behind or whatever, he's still got an eye on you. So you get that eye contact that you really hope for, especially like during a BJ, like, you know, you want him to look up at you. You can be guaranteed that you're going to get that from him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't miss those eyes. Let's face it.
Yeah. So my number 2 is inspired by this video, a YouTube video, all about dirty talking, and I've picked Aaron Moy. So going the Aussie feel. One,
the dome chrome.
Yeah, the dome chrome. So. You know, if you like dirty talk, I'd imagine calling him a bold piece of shit while really giving it to him in a really rough manner and just really humiliating his bald head. That's just what gets me off. What can I say? Yeah, and also, if you've ever fantasized about Voldemort, go no further.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, not more as you can say there. I wouldn't have thought.
You bold piece of shit kind of
when
sums
someone
it
drops the words blowjob into a podcast, I think there's enough there.
Yeah.
My next one is and I'm an Everton fan, and I just love Andre Gomez because his hair is just perfect.
Yeah.
From the minute of kickoff to the moment it finishes, it does not move.
Yeah.
That man must go through that much hairspray. I mean, I just can't imagine that hair cannot. Like, it's a wig. I mean, I just don't understand. But he is
immaculate hair.
He is a very good looking man. I must admit,
That's good to know. And so my number 1 player I have chosen is Lionel Messi. And that is because he is small and non-threatening, and that's the way I like it. I'd feel like I'd maintain total control.
You want that dominance.
You definitely do, and I think Lineal offers that. And then we'll kick some goals for me afterwards, and I'd feel enlightened. It's just heartwarming. So my number 1 is definitely Messi.
And my number 1, purely because his name sounds amazing, it sounds sexy, is Giroud.
Giroud.
And yeah, I mean. The French, I mean, you know he's going to be romantic. He's going to take you out, like, you know, bit of sightseeing over Paris, you know, that kind of thing.
All the wine.
I mean, he lives in Chelsea, but let's not. Let's just.
London can be a little bit romantic at times.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, mate. That was the worst fucking Pommy accent
don't hang out with David Beckham.
Yeah,
whose voice sounds like a lawnmower. And you know, it's very beautiful.
All right, so we're gonna quickly wrap up this show now. I think we have one last segment, and that is our useless stat of the week. So I'm gonna kick it off with a useless stat I found. Now, prior to the match tonight, the useless stat is the ladder is a mirror image of itself. So that is Geelong were 10 wins and 1 loss, and Carlton at the bottom were 1 win, 10 losses, and the pattern kind of repeats like that.
Yes, yeah, it goes
all the way through. Yeah. So you could draw a line right in the middle of ladder, and the wins, losses would be a mirror image of itself. The last time that had happened was in 1940 when Melbourne won the grand final, so I'm hoping for a miracle.
Yeah.
However, we will not be getting it anytime soon because I'm a realist, and that is a useless stat that means jack fucking shit. So that is mine, and I'd be interested to hear yours. So, Castle, what is your useless stat of the week?
Well, mine, JJ, is that there have been 15 cocks who have played AFL football, and Mason Cox is the biggest Cox. And of the Willies who have played AFL football, Willie Rioli of the West Coast Eagles is the smallest Willie. So we actually had the biggest Cox versus the smallest Willie on grand final day. And the smallest Willie won.
Okay. So just goes to show that size does not matter.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not.
So that's about all we have time for this week. We'll be definitely giving this a go next week. So make sure you keep listening. Give some feedback on where we can improve, and we'll try to get some shit happening. This can only get better from here. I'm pretty sure we're at our lowest point of all time. So yeah, just keep tuning in, and we promise we'll get better. We'll find our way.
Hold on. I think we need to finish this properly. I think we need a bit of a catchphrase, or at least go off on our slogan.
Yeah.
So with all to do, it's anybody's game.
And fuck off.